This week on Influence, stop getting medical advice from TikTok. What's cooking, y'all? How's that? Is that a catchphrase? Is that a way to start a show? I don't know. The kids today, they are talking about cooking and getting cooked. Getting cooked, that's bad. You're cooked. That means you're done. You're over. You've been defeated. You got cooked. But if you are cooking, if you are the one doing the cooking, if you are cooking someone else, your enemy, your rival, then you're on the top of the heap. You're winning. Okay? At least that's what's going on in 6th grade. Over here, that's as far as I can follow. We are very fortunate in that our 6th grade daughter, our 12-year-old daughter, does keep us informed about middle school slang. We really stay on top of the trends over here at our household. And who am I? Well, I'll tell you. My name is Matt Silverman. You probably know that already if you're listening to this podcast. But if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for subscribing. We've seen a few new folks and faces and people on the feed lately, thanks to some recent guests. So welcome to the show. It is a program where I discuss internet culture, communities, people who are having an impact, creating social movements or making a living or just being downright hilarious or entertaining or fantastic on this here internet. And I've been covering this stuff for 400 billion years. And I like to talk about it. Got a short one for you this week. No guest lined up for this week because we got a bunch of people on the books, but man, work and life and schedules and timing is just it's a lot. It's a lot to manage, both on the professional side and the personal side this week. So I gotta cover some quick topics here and then get back to it. Oh man, I have a project in the works that I'm so excited about. I cannot wait to launch it. It's finally coming together after a lot of hard work from a lot of awesome, cool people. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, but it probably won't be talking about that for another couple weeks, at least. We'll see how it goes. So I've been busy with that. Been busy with this show as usual. Been busy with my other podcast, which is about video games. If you enjoy video games as much as me and my good dear friend and former colleague, Colette Bennett, she is from the original Destructoid podcast crew, and she's written for Kotaku and CNN and Playboy and tons of other places about games. And we like video games, and we like talking about them. And then we said, hey, we got to make a podcast about that. And guess what? 200 episodes later, I think we're coming up on episode 200 in a couple weeks now. I think we're at like 197, 198. We just talk about game news and the games that we've been playing, and we like to highlight independent games wherever possible. So if you enjoy that stuff, just hop on over to Colette and Matt have entered the chat. It's a very casual, silly, ridiculous show, and you might enjoy it. But for now, I would like to tell you that TikTok, the social media platform that is it banned? Is it not? Is it good? Is it bad? Is the Chinese government spying on everything you do? I don't know. It's the one that I don't use. Actually, no, I don't use a lot of them given our current circumstances. I have not deleted yet, but I have disappeared from a handful of platforms that I don't find useful or ethically safe to use anymore, for all the reasons you can imagine. TikTok is one of them, even though I never really started there. But TikTok is a lifeline for a lot of people. It is the creator communities there, as we've covered extensively on the show over the years, are very important to a lot of people. Lots of people make their living there. And the creativity that emerges from that platform is astounding. The privacy nightmare and algorithmic hellscape that platform has created is a different story. And part of that relates to medical information and, of course, medical misinformation. And then to go a little darker, medical disinformation. COVID was a proving ground for a lot of platforms, and medical misinformation and myths and just all around crap was a real problem on TikTok and continues to be. We're not talking about something as dire as COVID, but we are talking about mental health, specifically ADHD diagnoses. The world of ADHD TikTok specifically has exploded since COVID, specifically over the last 2 to 5 years. And we covered it on the show. Katie Osborne, who is just a spectacular advocate for neurodivergency and ADHD awareness, diagnoses. And she is a creator who focuses on making sure people have good, accurate, responsible, and, vetted resources for ADHD spectrum, people on the spectrum of ADHD and or autism, right? Great stuff. We love Katie. Katiosaurus, if you're looking for a good follow on Instagram or TikTok. However, there is a study from the University of British Columbia, which is making the rounds right now, digging in on this world of ADHD TikTok culture, and finding that like self-diagnoses of ADHD have like exploded thanks to the proliferation of information about this on social media, specifically TikTok. And this is public. So this is a peer-reviewed scientific study, documented in like a scientific journal, which has since been picked up by media, which found that the accuracy of these creators is highly suspect, which sucks because it's really cool and important for awareness and destigmatization of mental health discussions to be on the internet and part of social media discourse. And the minute you have that in a short form algorithmic ecosystem, you're gonna start getting this quest for engagement, which means rush for likes, shares, view time, views, watch time, etc., and a lack of diligence when it comes to accuracy. And also, you're going to get bad actors on the platform who are going to weaponize it, want to sell you shit, grift, scams, etc. Breaking this down, a 2024 analysis found that 92% of videos tagged hashtag ADHD test. Apparently, this is a very popular hashtag, ADHD test, which I suppose this is people on TikTok saying, do these 3 things or take this test or answer these questions to find out if you have ADHD. 92% of these videos contain misleading information. And now this new study out of the University of British Columbia, actually it's 2 studies, a pair of studies to evaluate the truthfulness of content found through ADHD TikTok and related hashtags. So it's about the content itself and the audience's perceptions of themselves when consuming the content. Mental health professionals reported that fewer than 50% of TikToker claims about ADHD symptoms align with like medical criteria found in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So when mental health professionals and doctors and scientists need to categorize and classify and diagnose human beings responsibly under the guardrails of the medical boards that govern our medicine, they use the DSM. They use this comprehensive manual that is like the latest science, the latest peer-reviewed science says these are the criteria, these are the symptoms, this is how we diagnose people. And guess what? This TikTok lady, the information she's got is not it's not accurate. It's not good. This guy selling you ADHD quizzes. He doesn't have the right stuff going on. And then both of these studies are very interesting to me. But the second study done by this research team is also indicating that participants who watched the most ADHD TikTok were more like, so the users that watched the most content from this community and this is two parts, right? Ready? They were more likely to recommend the 5 most accurate videos, and they were most likely to recommend the 5 most inaccurate video clips. So I guess it's like, the more content you consume, the larger picture you have of it. And so maybe you are very engaged with the top creators. And I don't know, this is just me speculating. I bet the top creators in any content area are going to be both the most well-researched and well-regarded and diligent among the cohort. And also, the other top creators are going to be the most fly-by-night, engagement-hungry, algorithmic optimizing people who reach huge audiences and don't know shit about their topic, or don't do the research, or pull from dubious sources, or conflate things about their topic area that's not backed by scientific research or journalistic expertise. Even more concerning, the study suggests that a heavy diet of this TikTok content shapes how people perceive ADHD, not necessarily for the better. So this is quote. I think this came from an NPR article. I'm going to link the scientific article, like the journal in the peer-reviewed study, and also some of the media coverage here, because it's hard. Look, it's hard to read a peer-reviewed journal. Much easier to read like an NPR interview. But this is from the lead scientist. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Vasilia Karasava. So I'm sure I'm butchering that. But quote, she says, quote, people who consumed more also felt worse about their own symptoms, said the study's author and postdoctoral student at the University of British Columbia. Quote, they thought they were worse. They thought they were worse and harder to cope with, meaning the more quote unquote education people are getting about ADHD from TikTok, the worse they felt about their own symptoms, and the more they thought their own symptoms were bad or hard to cope with. Hopefully that makes some sense. I guess, this means like the more you know about something, the more you know, and the more you think about it, and the more you obsess about it, and the more you see it in your feed, and the more you're like, I think that's me. And then the other factor here that these articles are citing is like, okay, There is a lack of academic and scientific research and literature about ADHD and mental health in general. We need more of that. And it's hard, and even the stuff that exists is hard to access and digest. And so even creators with the best intentions who want to inform people and help people and make the world a better place, they don't know how to convey it. They are not necessarily professional science communicators or journalists. They have just found themselves in an algorithmic bubble where they feel like they can do good, and they don't have the tools because they're just regular people trying to talk about stuff. So that's tough. And then the study also says creators who rely on frequent uploads to make money may not have the time to conduct in-depth research. If your livelihood, if you have quit your job to make ADHD TikTok videos and you need the next one out because it's Tuesday and the algo is going to kill you, maybe you're not sifting through 4 scientific studies to figure out what is the best, most nuanced information. And then, of course, how can you communicate nuanced medical information in a 60-second, 90-second TikTok video that must grab people's attention in the first 3 seconds? Healthcare and medicine is complicated. Communities on the internet that focus on it are hopefully a force for good. They are a force of positivity. They can destigmatize. They can make people feel educated and included. But when we also lack critical thinking skills and education and access to healthcare, like, it is so fucking hard to find mental health care providers, schedule appointments, find people who are inside your shitty ass insurance network or whatever. It's so hard to do that. And if you are suffering from mental health challenges and you do not have a support system in place to help you get to the experts you need, well, then of course you're going to open fucking TikTok and be like, well, here, okay, well, she said it's this, so maybe that is my thing. Why wouldn't you do that? Of course you would. So on one hand, the insanity of these algorithmic platforms is one problem, but we would not have to rely on them so much if other resources were at hand. And it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm for medical information. We saw it with COVID, and we're seeing it again with everything. But I did find it particularly interesting that this space, which we've covered on the show specifically, was subject to like 90% of this stuff is inaccurate / wildly inaccurate. And it's a problem. And it's fascinating. And, letting kids and teenagers just go on to TikTok and Instagram and assume that because this very charismatic and authoritative person is talking about mental health, they're just going to assume that it's reputable. It's a bummer, and we can do better. We'll see. Speaking of doing better, is that a transition? Is that a segue? We got to thank the Patreon. We got to thank the executive producers on the Patreon. Everyone who supports this show, thanks for doing it. But we also got to thank the executive producers who contribute $10 or more. They are Bowie Barks, William, Dominic Kerr, and Duran. Thank you so much for supporting the show. It helps me get this work done. It helps me prioritize this show in a world where, my work is scattered across a lot of different projects and clients these days. And it helps keep the show on the rails. So if this is useful to you, then even just subscribing for free on Patreon is super, super helpful. So thanks for doing it. We can't regulate medical misinformation off these platforms, but we can and should put some legal guardrails around the weaponization of misinformation, hate speech, and such on social media. And potentially a really bad way to do that would be to repeal Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Long, super long time listeners may know, and if you're plugged into internet culture deeply, we have covered Section 230. It's a law from 1996. Yes, 96. It basically says, hey, YouTube is a website and all the stuff on it is user-generated content. So if one person uploads a cooking video and one person uploads a video game video and another person uploads, Nazis are cool, YouTube, the company, Google, the company, can't be held legally responsible for the bad stuff that users upload to the site. And that's important because these types of platforms, which are obviously, name any platform, they're global, they become so integral and woven into our lives. It's like, for better or worse, these platforms cannot moderate the shit that people put on them. It's just not possible. So if we want video essays and scientific literature and really good comedy and social commentary and political discourse to be on Instagram, we also cannot let Facebook/Meta to get sued every 10 seconds because some dickhead put shitty things on Instagram. And that just comes down to the scope of moderation. And at the end of the day, it's like a free speech issue, asterisk. These are private platforms. But the point is that Section 230 allows these platforms to function because they would be crippled if they could not rely on this protection. Doesn't mean that platforms can't and shouldn't moderate bad stuff and hate speech. I'll get into that in a minute. So this past week, Senators Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, and Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, also the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, they have been working to reintroduce a bill that would sunset Section 230 within 2 years. And Lindsey Graham has been trying to do this since 2020. This is from The Verge's coverage of this issue. Section 230 shields any interactive computer service or its users from legal liability for speech that was produced by someone else, making it possible for social media platforms to moderate content without fearing lengthy litigation over each decision. Critics of Section 230 have argued that it either reduces or incentivizes large social networks to police illegal content like abuse and harassment, or conversely, that it gives these platforms too much freedom to remove content that's not illegal. Yes, this is really complicated. As I've discussed here and talked with journalists and legal experts, my take, not a legal expert, is that we have to distinguish between content and the delivery method of said content. We can say that all speech should be allowed on the internet. I believe that. Platforms are private companies and they can decide what speech is appropriate and not. But if the internet as a whole is a public square, then we should allow all speech to be all speech should be allowed under the Constitution. Weaponizing hate speech, harassment, self-harm, etc., through the use of algorithms, especially when it harms kids and marginalized people. The point of repealing Section 230 is, of course, to protect the children, which we all want to do, but this is probably not the right way to do it. If I post medical misinformation on my website and you post a funny podcast on your website, both can be on the internet. But the user, would have to seek out that information specifically in order to get it. And that is an openness. That is a free speech sort of stance. But if we do that on Instagram, and Instagram prioritizes medical misinformation or political misinformation because wowie zowie, it really gets some engagement, lots of likes and comments and anger and controversy on this post, and then it pushes that misinformation or it pushes that hate speech into the feeds of people who are not seeking it out, thus misinforming or radicalizing or tribalizing, segmenting them from a critical understanding of the topic. That is the problem with modern social media and the thing that should be regulated. We should be regulating companies whose business model is surveillance, addiction, and weaponization of sensational and misleading content. The content should be able to exist, and the platforms should not be legally liable for it under Section 230. Section 230 is a good idea, and it allows the internet to work as it has for 30 years? Almost 30 years? Since the law, 96. So as usual, this is Congress, Senate, whatever you want to call it, legislators regulating the wrong thing, changing the wrong thing, which could be very damaging to public discourse on the internet. I don't know. Okay, so here's my closing thoughts on it. One, I would be interested in covering it. I may ring up our old buddy Paul Singer over at Kelly Dry, who has been on the show multiple times, to be like, hey, what's up with this bill? Well, what's up with this legal thing? What does this mean for the internet? What does this mean for creators? What does this mean for internet audiences and users and communities? He's great. So, like, if this repeal of Section 230 kind of proceeds and has legs and bipartisan support, as it seems to have, I would like to get an expert, a smart person who is not me, to answer a lot of these questions. So stay tuned for that. But also, like, this could just, given how chaotic everything is right now, the idea of any bipartisan anything kind of proceeding forward is, I don't know. I am not holding my breath, perhaps. So we'll be keeping an eye on. So for now, keep uploading your shit to the internet. You're safe to do so. If you get medical information from TikTok, just go to say, hey, expert, doctor, I saw this. What do you think of it? Is this good? Is this right? Does this apply to me? You know this. If you're listening to this show, you know this. But tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell the aunts, uncles, mom, dad, grandpa. Let them know. Look, if grandpa's getting ADHD information from TikTok, honestly, good on him. Keep it up. Thank you, as always, for listening to this nonsense. And I hope to talk with you and see you again very soon. Got some excellent guests lined up. We are aligning some schedules to do some very cool episodes coming up in the future. As always, you should suggest your favorite creator, community, weird website that does weird, cool things. I saw a website earlier this week that was like, hey, write a message to someone that's very important and put their real email address in there and pour your heart into the email, but there's only, and then click send, and there's only a 1 in a million chance the website will randomly send your email through. 1 in a million. So it's this weird, like, take a risk and send your crush that heartfelt, that you're dying for them, right? You're carrying the torch, and maybe, just maybe, they'll receive it. Weird, stupid shit like that. Send it on over. Email, Discord, Patreon, which you can subscribe to for free, leave comments and send messages, all that good stuff. It's all in the doobly-doo of the show notes and the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And, you gotta remember, be kind. Rewind your podcast after listening, and I will talk with you in 1 week's time.